Does using it hurt at all?
Is it suitable to use during the sun season?
Can we use it on rosacea?
Can we use the device in the external genital area?
Do I need to shave every time before use? Can it be used by 18-year-olds?
The next one is very interesting.
Is it useful for nose hair?
Imagine you just bought the Ulike Air3 and realized that the new model Air 10 got released. Should you get the new model? Is there a vast difference from the previous one? What should you do? We are seeing this time and again. Companies are coming up with newer technologies every time, and that makes me wonder, is it just a marketing trick of getting new models each year? As in, my thoughts tell me, why not make the latest model that they just released the first time itself? But then I also understand that companies invest a lot into research and development and try to address any deficiencies that were present in the previous models, and hence they come up with an improved version. I have also received a ton of questions ever since I showed you in the previous video on how to use the Ulike Air3. I did explain a lot of basics in that video, so if you haven't watched that, I would highly recommend first going and seeing that video and then coming to this one, since it'll be more helpful and you'll understand what I'm referring to even better. In this video, I'm going to answer all the questions that you're left in the comments below, or those that you emailed me directly. I do take the time to try to answer each and every question that you'll leave in the comments below, but then I realized you can only explain so much with words. I also noticed there are quite a lot of repetitive questions, and hence I realized that many of you all have the same doubts and you are still not confident in using the device. Since I wish the very best for you, and if that means convenient at-home hair removal, then I'm happy to help. Alrighty, so the first question that we have today is, how long before I can see the results? This was one of the most commonly asked questions, and honestly the answer is, I don't know. I cannot say for sure how soon you will see the results, because everybody's body is very different. To give you some perspective, if you are on the younger side, say you are between the ages of 18 and 25, your cell regeneration rate is far more robust than that of a 45-year-old. Hence the rate of regrowth and regeneration of the hair follicle will be higher. So you might see a little longer to see absolute reduction in the hair growth. What you also need to factor in is what kind of hair growth are you trying to target, especially if you're trying to target chin hair or facial hair, which has a hormonal predilection, means the underlying cause is some hormonal disturbance. No matter how hard you try to target or remove the hair follicle, if that hormonal disturbance like excess androgens is contributing to that excessive hair growth, the IPL device can only do so much then. That being said, you should ideally start seeing a reduction in hair growth by 4 weeks. By this I mean that your hair will not grow back as quickly as it used to. But in my experience, it also depends on the body part that you're treating. I have noticed underarm hair can be quite stubborn. Like, you could be left with this one spot in your underarm that just refuses to stop regrowing. Hair over the arms are found to respond better than those over the legs. The bikini and the facial area respond well too, but again, this is not absolute. I know some have seen a very quick response and some haven't. So be patient, follow the manual, and see how well it works for you. Before we go any further, I wanted to say a quick hi, I'm Dr. Sanober Pezad Doctor. I'm a board certified dermatologist practicing integrative and holistic dermatology, and on this channel we discuss everything related to skincare, hair care, and healthy aging. So make sure you smash the subscribe button and turn on the notification icon so that you do not miss out on any new video that gets released. Trust me, it's all with valuable information. Alrighty, moving on to question number 2. Was going to start today, but the warning states not to use while menstruating due to the skin possibly being more sensitive during this time. Now, this is a very interesting scenario, and honestly I did not pay attention to it till y'all did not point it out to me specifically. I did do some research digging to see if I could give y'all a concrete answer. Now, I did find a few studies that did mention some correlation between pigmentation and the use of a laser device. Like, for example, in this small study, they mentioned that 2 volunteers developed hypopigmentation and the rest developed hyperpigmentation, and the pigmentation that developed was more severe when it was done just before or after menstruation, and thus the study concluded that laser-induced post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation risk may be influenced by the menstrual cycle. However, these were very small studies, and what I gathered was that due to hormonal changes taking place in the body during that time, it is possible that your skin might become more sensitive, and hence your chances to burn or develop post-inflammatory hypo or hyperpigmentation might be higher. Also, menstruation is an important time for hormonal reset. So in general, you want to rest and recuperate. And why do you want to bother lasering away during that time? If you're worried that it is going to spoil out the schedule, like I know many of y'all ask me, it has to be used every other day or every 2-3 days, it is fine, trust me. You can just pick up your schedule from where you left it. Okay, next question. Can the device be used on a few grays popping on the chin or sideburns? Now you need to understand that light energy is going to target the melanin that is present in the hair bulb or the hair root. That energy absorbed will get converted into heat energy and thereby destroy the cells and the replicating cells that are leading to hair growth. But if you have grey or white hair, that means the amount of melanin present in the hair root is very little or not present at all. So there isn't any guarantee that the device will work for grey hair. Hence, I wouldn't recommend getting the device if your concern is only a few grey or white hair. Otherwise, it should work for any hair over the body and face as long as it belongs to the darker side of the spectrum. Next, when one does laser, they are not to be exposed before and after to the sun, especially in countries with higher temperatures. How does this work? Remember, any form of procedure that the skin gets exposed to is a form of stress to the cells, and thereafter exposure to ultraviolet lights can trigger the sensitive melanocytes and thereby increase your chance of post-inflammatory hyper or hypopigmentation. This is why it is always advisable to sun protect before and after any procedure. The severity of pigmentation will depend on your skin type though, but this is true whether you choose to go for IPL at-home hair removal or an in-office laser session or microdermabrasion or any procedure for that matter. You need to sun protect, period. I've been using the device for like 3 months and it really worked on my face and my underarms. In my legs, it has reduced, but it didn't finish it all. And by this I mean it did not remove all the hair. We kind of answered this in the first question itself, but this brings us to what I'm trying to explain always, that there will be inter-individual variability. How your body reacts is unique to you. Also, when you mentioned that it did not finish all of the hair over the legs, there is a possibility that the surface area of the legs is so vast that when you're trying to glide the machine over that huge surface area, you might skip the areas unknowingly, and that is why you're seeing those patches or pockets of hair regrowth taking place. So once you see that hair regrowth over the rest of the areas has really slowed down or has got really minimized, then you can only focus on those areas where you're actually seeing hair regrowth take place. Does using it hurt at all, especially for someone with very sensitive skin? This was one of the other very frequently asked questions, and quite rightfully so. It is hard to imagine that something might not hurt given the fact that it is saying that it will destroy the hair follicles. But as I mentioned before, this technology has come a long way. There was a time when I did not recommend at-home hair removal devices at all, and today I'm sharing a device that I have personally used and found to be safe and effective. So the direct answer to the question is no, the procedure doesn't hurt and it shouldn't hurt. You might just feel slight warmth over the skin if you've been using it for a long time, like if you're using it for the entire body in one go. But at least with the latest devices like the Ulike device, they have a very nice inbuilt cooling technology, and hence ideally you should not feel anything when you're gliding it over the skin. Is this suitable to use during the sun season? You can use it during the summer. There is no contraindication or there is no for this. But as we discussed before, you need to make sure you're using adequate sun protection, especially if you belong to skin of color, since we are more prone to developing post-inflammatory hyper or hypopigmentation. Can we use it on rosacea? Another very common question that I received was asking whether it can be used for any condition apart from hair removal. Now, vascular lasers, including the intense pulse light, are reportedly safe and effective in treating a type of rosacea called erythematottelangiectatic rosacea. However, you need to understand that these sessions need to be done under the supervision of a specialist like your dermatologist, and with the use of specialized lasers like those that are available in office. These kind of at-home lasers have not been designed for such uses, and hence I do not suggest you do the same. Next question please. You said to use the device every other day for results. Is shaving required before each session? Now you want to follow the schedule that has been provided in the manual based on your skin type to determine how frequently do you need to use it. Regarding the question of shaving every time before use, ideally, yes. If you have hair growing above the surface of the skin, simply because you want the light energy to target the melanin that is present in the hair root and not get wasted being attracted to the melanin that is present in the hair visible over the skin surface. Because if you hurt the hair root, it will not regenerate, right? So if you shave every time before use, you're just increasing the chance of the procedure being highly effective. And once the rate of hair growth reduces, the shaving requirement will reduce too. I got this device. Is it possible to use a hair removal cream to use before using the IPL? You can use a hair removal cream since that will dissolve only the visible hair that is present over the surface of the skin, and the hair root will still be present for IPL to work. However, I wouldn't recommend the repeated use of such depilatory creams since they have very strong chemicals which is not good for the skin in general, and if you learn to shave correctly, it is actually more cost effective and very simple. The manual says to do it 3 times a week for the first 4 weeks, then 2 times a week for 2 more weeks. Now what if I did that but backwards, meaning I started with 2 times a week for 2 weeks and then did 3 times a week for 4 weeks? Will I get the same results? Also, I'm using it on power mode on my face and neck. This is an interesting question. If you choose to go slower with the frequency of use, you will get the same results but at a slightly slower pace. I kind of like the idea of going low and slow. It allows your skin to get sensitized. The reason they have provided a faster frequency schedule is so that you shock the hair root in a way that it will slow down its regenerative potential to the maximum. Ultimately, with any at-home device, consistency is the key. The next question is important because I know many of y'all were shy in asking this, but one of y'all was bold enough to. Can we use the device in the external genital area, especially the mons pubis, the labia majora, and around the nipples? Now, there is no strict rule on where you can and cannot use the device, but simply put, it is best to avoid any mucosal areas, any sensitive areas, and any areas that are difficult to treat. If you want to try it in unconventional areas, I highly recommend doing it under the guidance of a dermatologist or a specialist. But make sure you start with the lowest intensity and work your way up to see how the skin in that area responds and feels. Now, if you're speaking about the mons pubis, the skin here is more sensitive than the skin present over the arms and legs, and hence you want to be more cautious. Regarding the areola, that is the area present around the nipples, this area in general is darker than the rest of your skin, and it might not give the best results because IPL ideally requires a contrast between the skin and the hair color, because again, as I mentioned before, it targets melanin and there is no way it can differentiate the melanin present in the skin or the hair. As for the perianal area, I would avoid using it there simply because you need to shave first, and since we sit on that area and it is subjected to repeated friction, I have seen a lot of cases of folliculitis and ingrown hair in general in that area. Also, it would become kind of difficult to navigate the area all by yourself. Like, you know what I mean. I'm a little confused right now. Do I need to shave every time before use? If yes, then it'll be like shaving every other day, which would be painful. Also, if I shave every other day, then how would I come to see the results? We've discussed this before, but if you have hair present over the surface of your skin, you need to shave it off before you use the device so that the procedure is more effective. Also, with time, your hair growth will slow down and the need for repeated shaving will decrease as well. And how do you know you're seeing the results? You will see that instead of a leg full of hair, you will see some hair growth here and there, but not in its entirety. Also, shaving should not hurt. Why should it hurt if you're shaving in the right way? It shouldn't. Is it possible to use on my widow's peak and not damage the rest of my hairline? You could if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend using this device for this. It can lead to semi-permanent hair loss in that area, and unless you are very sure of getting rid of that hair, you might want to avoid it. It will be best to discuss this with your dermatologist or a hair transplant surgeon who can actually see your hairline and guide you with different options, or you could simply cover it with a different hairstyle. Now, I haven't really seen your hairline to make an accurate comment, but unless it is really prominent or bothersome, I think you can just leave it as it is. I've been using my Air 3 for about 2 months, and 10 years ago I had done IPL done professionally under my arms. You didn't address it in the video and I've never seen it clearly stated on any of Ulike's posts or pages. Does it just take one hit to the hair follicle while in the growth phase? Or is it a cumulative effect of damaging it through multiple sessions? When done professionally, I believe it just takes one hit, so it's confusing why Ulike requires you to do so many sessions over the first few weeks. Is it because the power is lower, it requires multiple treatments per follicle before it's fully destroyed? Or is it to avoid potential user error just to make sure all the hairs are definitely getting hit at least once? This was quite a long one and kind of educative and informative one in itself, because I think you kind of already know the answer, but you just wanted to confirm it with me. But your observations and interpretations are correct, because at-home hair removal devices like the Ulike Air3 or the Ulike Air10 do not and cannot use the laser beams that are available in the office devices. But whether you use an at-home device or go for an in-office procedure, you will need follow-up sessions until the hair root is completely destroyed. The interval between each follow-up will vary depending on the device you use. I have actually written a lot of articles and explained this in detail on my website. I will leave the links to a few blog articles in the description below.
What about nose hair? Is it useful for nose hair?
I do not advise using it for nose hair. It is not suited for that purpose. And besides, how are you going to use it? For the Ulike 10, I read that there are only 300,000 flashes. Is that right? What happens after that? Does it stop working? Also, is it normal for legs to itch? I used Ulike 10 on my legs the first time and itched on my legs all night. Now, this was a very technical question and I did reach out to the company, but I still did not get a clear answer. In my opinion, even if it does have a set number of flashes, I think that will be enough for you to achieve the kind of result you're expecting, and that is reduction in your hair growth. Ultimately, it's a device, it's a machine, and like all electronic devices, it kind of has its own life. But I am not a company representative, so don't take my actual word on it. So that's that. But regarding the itching, that would probably be more contributory to the shaving than the use of the device itself. Like, are you moisturizing after you shave? Are you shaving in the right direction? Try to use a good moisturizer, and especially an aloe gel if you can, each time after you shave, because this will reduce the chance of any razor burn or any untoward thing that can happen with the use of a razor. Is there a minimum age limit? Can it be used by 18-year-olds? It can be used as long as the individual feels responsible and is guided well enough. Its use is pretty straightforward. Just make sure to follow the instructions and not to overdo it. Alrighty, I have tried to cover most of the topics that were being asked at least repeatedly, and I hope you've got some clarity by now. If you found the video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with all your girlfriends. Let me know if you have any other questions or concerns in the comments below. I will try to answer all of them to the best of my ability. Continue to glow, thrive and shine as always. Take care. I'll see you soon.